Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I am Payo time. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more great Rams and NFL content. If you love talking football, you're in the right place today. We are going to be talking about the Cam Akers injury and what that means for the Los Angeles Rams. And then at some point, we are going to have a very special guest, Rams House. From over on his channel. He's going to tune on in here, and we're going to talk about some Rams. So I hope you've had a great day today. Maybe you're just getting off work, or maybe you're at work. I don't know where you're at. Wherever in the world, whenever in the world, I'm thankful that you're tuning in today, whether you're watching live or on the rewatch. But before any of that, roll intro. Yes, indeed. And if you have just turned the internet on in your life today, and you're a Rams fan or a football fan, you know that the running back for the Los Angeles Rams, Cam Akers, suffered a torn Achilles. And so we're going to talk about that today. And we are really excited that we have a guest with us today. And please join me as I welcome in Rams House.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We're so glad you made it. And we're going to talk about the Akers injury. And then I have some questions that I want to ask you. And I'm really curious to see, explore your Rams fandom. Because for any of you know, this week, it just sort of worked out. I am going to interview Rams House here today. Then Jake Ellenbogen on Thursday, and then Sheriff Joe Bags from Rams Showcase on Sunday. So lots of great Rams creators joining together and talking this week to talk some Rams. But so let me start with this. Rams House, where were you when you heard the news today about Cam Akers' injury?
I was actually just getting up from bed because I was just waking up, and it's kind of an early morning story. And then somebody texted me. They're like, "Oh no, Akers went down." I was like, "Oh no!" And I didn't know. He didn't tell me what the injury was. So the first thing I saw when I woke up was that he tore his Achilles and he was out. And I was like, "Dang, that's sad."
Yeah. No, I was at work a little bit. I'm a couple of time zones ahead of you, and I was working on this thing for project, and then my coworker, like very casually, is just like, "Oh, Cam Akers is out for the year," and I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
No. What are you talking about?" And I freaked out. And I'm like, I took my lunch early. On my coworker. I'm like, "Sorry guys, I gotta take my lunch," and then I just cried a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm really curious to see how this all plays out. But I don't know, like, do you think that, like, I don't think this is like I've seen some Ram fans that are like, season's over, we needed Akers. I'm not that mindset. I've always really loved Darrell Henderson. I know you're a fan of him as well.
Yeah. I think that for me, I don't think the season's over, or I definitely think that Cam Akers is really good, and I think that he definitely would have elevated the offense a lot just because of his skill sets he has. But that I still think that people are overlooking what Henderson can do, and our depth that we have is good too. But I was just saying to myself, like, when I first thought of it, I was like, man, this is really bad. Like, this is bad. And then I was like, I first just feel bad for him because this would have been like his first full year that he had a normal offseason and he would have been the starter. And my first thought was like, I'm glad it's not Stafford, because imagine if he missed the whole year after he made the trade. I'm glad it's not Aaron Donald, because yeah, Akers is really good, but it's not like our offense is driven only on runs and like the Titans one. So yeah, I think we definitely have enough guys to step up for it. But I was a huge fan when he was drafted, so it kind of hurt my heart a little bit because I was like, I feel bad for him just as a fan.
For sure, yeah. I am going to give a couple of shout outs here, but we have lots of people coming on in here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So Tommy, 49ers fan, always loves to talk trash in the politest way possible. So glad you're here. Jared, welcome on in. And Rams House TV's in the house. So glad you guys are here. Luder Chris, big fan of you. Thank you for coming on in. LA Rams is here, saying what's happening, everybody. Oh, thank you, Tommy, for sharing that stream. That's so nice of you. Definitely prayers for Cam Akers to get healthy. Jay, another 49ers fan coming on in. So glad you're here. Ramalia Sports Report, welcome in. We're excited to see your channel grow. We know it's still under construction. And we got, of course, North Dallas 40. So
the one that made you laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, North Dallas 40 is a huge Rams fan. And I know he was sad about the Akers going down. And he has some very good perspectives on the situation. We got lots. We'll talk about all this. You guys are asking some great questions. AMS, hello, welcome on in. So I want to ask the question is, so we think it makes sense to think that Henderson is the lead back. Who do you think falls into that kind of that number 2 spot? And do you think that we should look at signing, another veteran free agent?
I think that the 3rd spot, I think that's going to be a really good position battle for preseason and training camp. I think that's going to be fun to see how it unfolds, but I could definitely see even a rookie like Jake Funk go in there. I know that I would probably say my lead guy is probably Xavier Jones, because I think Raymond Calais is more of a guy that they got for special teams in the speed when they were kind of having all that trauma with the kick returning and stuff like that. I think they looked at him more like that. And so I would say Xavier Jones, and I could even see Jake Funk going over Calais and then Calais being the last one. But I think it's going to be a really good battle. And I see the only reason why I would see the Rams signing anybody to bring them in is for either a veteran presence or just maybe if they aren't confident enough. But I feel like the Rams are always confident in their group that they have because they're always able to groom them. And even if they don't see the field, they're still getting worked on and stuff. I'm definitely confident in Henderson. My only thought would be is like if they're worried about Henderson going down because he got injured last year, that would be my only thought. It's just bringing in a veteran presence, but it would have to be cheap. And I can see a lot of people talking about Gurley, but I don't see that with what happened with him. So that's my perspective. What about you?
You know what? Like on the Todd Gurley note, that would just be the weirdest, because we're technically still paying him dead cap money. So I don't think that's ever happened before, to my knowledge, in NFL history, where you're paying a player dead cap, you release them, and then you re-sign. Do you technically have to pay them still because you're already paying? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be complicated.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll work out for Todd Gurley to come back. That'd be interesting if he did. I think the Adrian Peterson is maybe interesting. He's obviously a veteran back who can still help produce for a team. And I think some of the other names, I read an article from Downtown Rams earlier today. They brought up Royce Freeman or Devontae Freeman as possible perspectives, or Le'Veon Bell. I wouldn't get too excited about Bell just based on his recent history. Not that the Rams can't, we have a great culture that can handle big personalities, but I wouldn't get too excited about that. But I think I'm more of a fan of sticking with what we have in house. A running back by committee did work really well for the Rams at times last year. And having a second year into this, maybe that's the way to go. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that I was really disappointed when I saw that because, again, that Akers had to work through all the running backs that they have, even Malcolm Brown and stuff. And I loved seeing him at the end of the season when they actually gave him a shot at that. And so that would be funny again if after they planned to do just a number 1 back and then go back to the 3 running backs. I could definitely see them still bring somebody in, but if they do a running back by committee, that would be interesting because I think we have a bunch of different types of talents at running back, so you'd see a bunch of different things.
For sure, yeah. We're going to give a quick shout out to legendary Jets YouTuber NYJ today. Thanks for coming on by. Appreciate it. And for all the YouTube community that has reached out to us Rams YouTubers today, thank you. I've gotten a lot of private messages and also comments on my video earlier today. It's good to see that politeness, and just no one wants injuries. No one wants that.
Yeah.
You never wish that. I don't want to beat an injured Niners team or an injured Seahawks team or anything. I want everyone to be at their best, right?
Yeah, every team.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are. We'll continue to monitor this running back situation for the Rams. Now, for those of you watching, I will confess, I scheduled this live stream not knowing this was going to be a main topic today. But I would like to ask a couple of questions to Rams House, just because I want to explore the Ramley. I want to explore fandom. I want to celebrate the Rams and the fandom. And so that's why I'm stoked to get to interview all these amazing Rams YouTubers, starting with Rams House here. So my first question to you, Rams House, is our questions are in three kind of segments here. We have Rams Past, Rams Present, and Rams Future. And so for Rams Past, can you tell me your favorite player that's not on the team, so past player, your favorite play from the past, and your favorite game from the past?
Oh, I would have to say favorite player was Torrey Holt, I would say.
Okay.
And then favorite play?
Yeah, favorite play.
Okay, I would probably say, I think that last year I picked the interception where I think it was Kenny Young intercepting the Patriots and taking it back. But I also liked, if you're just talking about in general from the past, I would just say maybe the Robert Woods touchdown against the Texans where he went deep. And even though that could have been a hold or not, but in the Coliseum when they're playing the Texans, it's really hard to narrow down one play, though. So I would probably say those two stand out to me. But something that I like in a play is definitely creativity or things you don't see a lot. I don't like to see the same thing every time, like in every game. And then I like to see those explosive plays, or just plays like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods make, where you think they're going to go down and they just keep running and running. And so, yeah, I would say those two. And then what was your next question?
Your favorite game from the past.
Oh, I say Rams and Chiefs.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough not to pick that one. That's such an iconic game.
I sometimes argue that Saints and Rams championship game, but it's hard to tell. They're both in the same year, but I think I just liked the way the Chiefs and Rams one worked out with just even though you didn't like the other offense scoring, you got so much offense in one game. It was just fun.
It's probably maybe a little before your time, but you've probably seen highlights that I remember watching as a kid, the 99 Super Bowl game against the Titans. And so I'll always kind of have that as my number one, just because that was such a phenomenal game in its own right.
Yeah, I wish I could have watched that one, because it seemed like such a great finish with them stopping him just a yard away. And yeah, I definitely wish that I could have watched that. But I bet for the people who were watching who were Rams or Titans fan, I bet their stomachs were in knots because of the way it finished.
It was all of the drama. Yep. All right. Well, now we're going to go to Rams present. And so obviously the Cam Akers injury adds to this. But so what are your thoughts on this season? Is there a game you're most looking forward to? And, including McVay as part of the present Rams, what's one of your favorite things about Sean McVay as a head coach of the Rams?
I would just say, for the Sean McVay thing to start off, I would say one of my favorite things about him is he brought such a great culture to the Rams in a year, and it was already switched. And I think that he just wants to win all the time. But I do think that he listens to the players a lot, and he does things in almost an upbeat way where it's easier to follow along. And he's kind of he's a guy who likes to motivate you in whatever ways that helps. And I think that even hearing from things like how he wants to adjust to the way Stafford plays and asking him what works for him, he's just a great all-around coach. And I think those are some of the things that stand out to me. And just the fact that for 20 years straight, our culture was almost the same thing every year. if not worse. And then for him, it just took him 1 year. And then now it's just like the Rams are expected to do well all the time, which wasn't what it was before. And then I would say coming into the season, what I expect is I still expect a lot of wins, and I think I expect around the same amount of wins as I did before. It's just about how the offense will look. Like I don't know if the Rams are planning on doing anything different with Akers, or doing more wildcat, and they were saying that he was going to line up at wide receiver. So I think the offense, I think it'll still look around the same, but I still expect a lot from this season. And then what was your other question though?
Yeah, so you've answered a lot of it. So your kind of general thoughts toward this year, and maybe the game you're most looking forward to this year on the schedule.
I would probably say the Super Bowl. No, I'm kidding.
I love it.
I would probably say one of the 49ers games. If we can beat them, I think that would be fun because I know that we haven't beat them in a while. And I think playing the Bucks again would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can beat the Ravens, that would be a fun one too. But I like a lot of the primetime ones. But I don't think this game will be very fun just in general to watch because I think that we might win by a lot in FGH Sports. I don't know if you're in here, but I don't know if we'll win by a lot or not. I don't know, but I think the opener at SoFi would be fun because it's where the crowd is there. It's the first game we get to see what the offense looks like, and having fans there will be cool. But yeah, I'd probably say the Buccaneers, the 49ers, and the Ravens are my top three.
Okay, good choice. Yeah, and for those of you watching, we are 54 days away from the Rams home opener at SoFi Stadium, so very, very excited about that. And okay, so we talked about the Rams past, the Rams present. Now we're going to talk about the Rams future. And so what's a player that you're most excited about that's currently on the Rams roster, but you're excited 2 to 3 years from now? And then we'll ask a follow-up question afterwards. Yeah.
I would probably say I would either say Van Jefferson, but probably because these guys will be used more, I would probably say Jordan Fuller and Terrell Burgess because they showed so much last year. And I think seeing where they're at in a couple of years, I think they could be at the John Johnson level, even though that's like a big thing to say. Like I don't know. I think that they could definitely be at that level in a couple of years. And I'm already liking what I'm seeing, but I'm also thinking about a guy that we just drafted, which is Robert Rochelle. I think he'll win out as that third cornerback. And maybe even if Darius Williams leaves, because he wants more money, I could see him taking the cornerback too, just because he's built kind of similar to Ramsey, where he likes to hit and he's kind of bigger and more physical. I'd say that secondary and the cornerback is probably the ones I'm most looking forward to, but probably a little bit of Van Jefferson as well.
Okay. Yeah. All great choices. All great choices. And then in regards to the future, I think we've realized now that the Rams they don't value first round picks the way that other teams do, and they've elected to use them as a trading chip. Snead has been burnt by first round picks in the past, and moving forward, like our next first round pick is 2024. Is this something that bothers you, or do you hope that when we get close, that pick gets traded as well?
I'm not bothered by it because I think that I would be bothered by it if we were picking duds like every year in the draft with our other picks. And I think a lot of people think the only way you get good players is by picking in the first round, which isn't true. I would say if getting good players in the draft is only by going in the first round, I'd probably be bothered. But the fact that we can get guys who have been proven and we just know what they can do and they're good, and we've seen what they can do on other teams, and adding into our team is going to be good. And then additionally, you can get some new guys that isn't at any cost because you just have draft picks. I don't mind this philosophy. I don't really know why it gets critiqued a lot because even if we did pick in the first round, most of the times I think it'd be late, like 25th or 26th pick. And usually by then the players aren't nearly as good as they are in like the first 15 picks maybe. And yeah, it's not to bash them in any way by saying that they're as good, but I think the philosophy that the Rams have by finding players in the later rounds, but also getting guys who have been proven with those picks, and no other team's really catching on to this, and we can just keep doing it. I'm not really bothered about it, but what about you?
Like I love it from the sense of it's different. It's working. And I guess the question is it sustainable, right? Is this something that we can see, like the Rams will continue this, winning culture, which obviously we hope for.
Yeah.
But you look at like these big mega trades, right, that Snead has made. That's another video I'm working on right now, but it's a long ways from being finished. If you actually, I'm ranking all of Les Snead's trades as his time as GM. And but it's been interesting because you think back to it, people forget about the RG3 trade, and everything that came from that. People forget about the Nick Foles and Sam Bradford trade, which was actually at the time a huge blockbuster trade. And people, you think back to getting Marcus Peters for a second round pick and trading Peters away and Talib away and getting Ramsey. There's all these picks or all these trades with these picks, and it's a very aggressive approach to it, which I love that side of it. But there is the side of it that you have to ask yourself, okay, like, is this sustainable? The Rams have been good for 4 years now with McVay, and is the culture that good in the organization that we can literally draft anyone and just turn it into a winner? And the critique has been the Rams are top heavy with talent. You and I have both, in separate videos, say that people who say that they don't fully understand what the Rams have in terms of depth.
Yeah.
We're probably a deeper team this year than we were last year as a 10-6 team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. That at some point you're gonna have to do something different. Or like, if you're getting these guys like these big names, and like say something happens like Todd Gurley, what if you trade like 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks for them, and then you think they're gonna be really good, and either they don't like the way the Rams play, or they don't like the way it's operated, or in Gurley's case, he just gets injured, and then all those picks are wasted, and you can't get good players. That is definitely a concern. But I think that it just depends. I feel like sometimes with the Rams, they're definitely really quick to give contracts or quick to do actions like that. And sometimes I feel like they should just like wait a little bit more, because we saw it with Jared Goff and stuff like that, and Todd Gurley. And if they just waited a little bit longer, they would have found out. And that's obviously something that you learn. But yeah, there's definitely a case of like warning, like you shouldn't always be doing that, and you have to make sure you do your research on it, because some guys can make you think they're going to be really good, and then they actually don't end up working out in your system the way you thought, and then it was all a wasted trade for them. So yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from too.
Well, and like on those contracts, like I think it is a very valid criticism. Like when you look at Goff specifically, right? Like we have 9 picks in this one player to get him, have him, have some success with him for sure, but then to trade him away as well. I think it's a very fair thing to to evaluate and to ask. I'm really excited for the Rams' future. You can criticize all you want about the Rams. The one thing you cannot criticize is we are entertaining on and off the field.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a storyline with us.
Yeah. We have a couple. You guys are commenting like crazy, which is awesome, but I want to give a couple of shout outs here. I've lost track of where we are in the comments, but I did see some good questions in here. Wow, this is awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Jay in the Bay, thank you so much for tuning on in. And Jay, 49ers fan, saying that oh yeah, we've been taking the Seahawks on. Yeah, I've been loving that. And then I saw someone else tuning on in here for the first time. I appreciate everyone tuning in here. Bay Area Baller. Yeah, we were talking about the Gurley reunion earlier, and welcome to you to the stream. But we just I don't think it'd be a good fit to have Gurley back. I don't think. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not gonna try and get through all these comments because I've lost track. This is weird for me. Old Man Ghost, welcome into the stream. So glad you're here.
Well, did we lose Payo time here? I'm not sure. I can't see Payo time on the screen. I'm not sure if he's talking right now or not, but I only see myself. So if it is, oh, there we go. We got him joining back in.
That's never happened to me before with StreamYard. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for entertaining everyone. Rams house.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's just my screen and I'm talking over him right now or not.
That is so. I've never had that happen before. Wow, interesting. Okay, we're back, folks. That was weird. But yeah, everyone else is awesome to see everyone here. I totally lost track of these comments, which is awesome. I appreciate you all so much. Let me ask the question to you, Rams House. So we talked about what game you're most looking forward to. You had mentioned the Niners. You'd missed that. But let's talk about what I like to say, the dysfunctional NFC West family. Right? We have some recently. I've been doing a lot of collabs with Niners fans for whatever reason. Niners YouTubers have invited me on. I've appreciated it. So we have some Niner fans here. But what team in the NFC West are you most concerned about heading into next year?
Like as a threat for us?
As a threat to the Rams, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would probably still say the Niners just because their coaching staff and like beating us with Nick Mullins. I mean, I don't know. I think that just shows how good the coaching staff is, even though they lost their defensive coordinator. But when you have like pretty much your whole injured reserve team against us, who was pretty healthy at the time, I'd still say the Niners because we have a grip on the Seahawks. We have a grip on the Cardinals for sure. So I'd say the Niners.
Yep. Yeah. A couple of shout outs here coming on. Last Sand Prince, thank you for coming on into the stream. So glad you're here. And also Coach Dante, welcome. You know what? We're going to talk about this here. Okay. Rams House, North Dallas 40. You and I both appreciate him on our videos so much. Him saying Rams need to fire Snead. I know North Dallas 40 has been quite critical of Les Snead, and I think Les Snead, he's an NFL GM. You're allowed to criticize him. That's totally fine. Do you think that if this season went completely south, there's any chance that Les Snead would get fired?
I don't know what happened there.
Hello?
I don't see you anymore, but I just hear you.
Oh, we're having some technical issues. I see you fine, and we see you on screen totally fine. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's just my end.
Oh, weird.
There we go. Now you're on.
Oh, I just reset it. Okay, cool.
So re-say what you said because I did not hear a single thing you said.
Okay. We're talking about what would it like if this season went completely south and the Rams have like a 4-win season or something. Do you think that's what it would take for Les Snead to get fired and North Dallas 40 to be happy with that?
I don't think that it would be that just because of the consistency we've had over the last few years. I think if there was a dip in our record, like going to 4-12 again, or I guess it's like 5-12. I don't know. But I think if we went back down to that, you'd have to look at like what went wrong because there would have to be something dramatically different with the culture and the players and stuff. But if that did happen, I would say they would have to look into why. Like, was it Stafford performing terrible? Because I think that if Stafford ended up playing terrible, and let's just say we had no injuries on offense besides Cam Akers, obviously, and Stafford just did terrible with us, that might be the only case. But even so, I would probably say they would, after that, they would say, like, okay, you're on the hot seat, and they would check next year, check back up. But I think that after that would happen, it would just be so unusual, and you'd have to check, like, okay, what caused this to happen? And then you could really make your decision.
Mm-hmm. We have an interesting comment coming on in here. Wildman Samurai, welcome to the stream. So glad you're here. And he's saying, no reason to panic at all. We have a pretty deep backfield. That being said, it would be good to have an experienced running back like Adrian Peterson or Frank Gore back there. Yeah, very, very. I think the way that I would phrase it is, the Rams don't get better by losing Cam Akers. You can't make that argument. So then the question is, how do they get significantly worse? And I don't think so. I think Henderson is a very capable starter, and I I think that's something, as you mentioned before, throughout camp, we're going to see who can go into that second spot. I'm going to take a guess that we don't sign a veteran right away. They'll want to see how the young running back core looks in camp, and McVay, he's always evaluating the talent that he has to work with, and if that similar, I think this is kind of a similar scenario when a couple of years ago when we made the Super Bowl run, when we had to bring in Anderson late in the season, and so. I think if they evaluate that, they want to bring someone in, it's nice to know there are veteran running backs on the market that we could bring them in. Yeah. Do you have a particular?
Yeah, I would. To me, I agree with them. I don't think there's any reason to panic at all. And for people who think that we're gonna just like drop off without Akers, obviously, like I said earlier, he's a really good running back, and I think he can do really good. But to me, what I'm thinking about is that pretty much like half of the season last year, the first half of it, he wasn't playing at all. And it's not that we were doing like so amazing because, we still had Goff and everything like that. But if you think about it, we didn't have Akers in like carrying it all the time like he was. And we were still getting wins and we still had a good winning record. And then that was with Jared Goff. So with Stafford, I still think we're going to be good enough, especially because Stafford's a better quarterback. And if we were already using Henderson, obviously we had Malcolm Brown before as our other one. But if we weren't really using Akers because McVay just doesn't like to play rookies too much, we used him the other half of the season. But if you think about it, the first half of the season, we were still playing tough teams and we were still getting wins without him. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. And I agree with you too. I would say McVay's going to evaluate what they have there as far as the age and seeing if you want to bring in a veteran at a cheap price. And I could even see like for the preseason game or right before the regular season game, I could still see him signing it right before that. It's just about what he evaluates with that. But there's definitely I don't think you have to rush a signing right away. But that would be like the Rams to rush a contract.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I did have the thought earlier today, while I was crying, that like the thought crossed my mind of like, man, I wish we still had Malcolm Brown. But Last Saying Prince has a really interesting question here. Are you worried about Henderson's injury history? And I don't know. My initial instinct is no, just because injuries are part of the game. However, Henderson did battle an ankle injury last year. That's a lot different than like a knee or like an ACL or MCL or groin injury. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it. I definitely watch out for it, and I'm sure that the Rams are going to as well. I'm not really too worried about that because I'm not sure if we're going to be taking a running back by committee like we did last year or not. But I would say that even if Henderson did go down, which would be sad too, like if he had a season-ending injury like Akers, then we would have to really go deep into our depths there. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. It's not somebody like Kupp who's kind of getting injured in those games that we need him the most. And it's not like Henderson's had a ton of injuries in the past, or just that one. So I definitely monitor it because he's still not, I don't think he's still 100% yet. I'm not sure if Henderson is or not. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about that just because he only had like one injury compared to like two or three.
Yeah, no, I very much agree with that. And I can't recall if Henderson was the high ankle sprain or a low ankle sprain last year.
I think it was high. I'm not sure.
Because I know that like I'm not a medical person whatsoever, but I'm told that the high ankle sprain, like it's harder to recover from, but once you've recovered from it, like it doesn't linger as much. But where the low ankle sprain, it's more likely to like get re-injured long term.
Yeah, so, that's why I have a question for you though. Do you think with Akers' injury that will affect his future, like with the Rams, if he'll like keep popping back up? Because that's what I've been thinking about today. Like I hope that doesn't happen.
Unfortunately, I do think it will. And that's part of the way the NFL goes is if you enter the league, and especially if you're not a first round pick, if you don't show that you can contribute within 3 years, or you're just like you have 3 years of injury history, unfortunately, you kind of lose the opportunity to be like a star player. I think Akers, like again, I'm not a doctor or a physician or any kind. So a torn Achilles, I know it's a serious injury. I know my Greek mythology and Achilles, his heel, whatever. But yeah, I obviously like all the prayers going out to Akers and and that what we can't ever forget that human aspect of football. It was like this is a man who was gonna get like he's been living out his dream to play in the NFL, be in NFL, and do well in the NFL, especially towards the end of last year. And there was a lot of excitement, not just for the Ramley and the Ram fans. I think from like him and the rest of the team, they were excited for what Cam Akers could do. And so yeah, I unfortunately I do think this injury will affect his career. And depending on how he recovers from this, he's got to make sure that he can still have that burst of speed if possible. Like, it's not a minor injury by any means. So definitely, praying for him. And there are precedent of people coming back from big injuries. I think you think of Adrian Peterson coming back from a torn ACL and rushing for over 2,000 yards the next year. Like, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I think we have another interesting. I lost it here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ramaleo Sports Report. He's saying with Cam Akers out, Stafford 5,000 passing yards and MVP numbers back in play. I don't know. Do you think this injury will drastically inflate Stafford's passing yards?
I don't know. I think he could be pegged around the same because I think either way, if you have a good run game going, which I still think with Henderson that we can still have that, with the good running game going, that will still help set up the pass, and then we can still be mixing that in. And sometimes, even if you're running a lot, you can still get a lot of big plays, even if it's not as many passes. So either way, even if Akers was healthy or if he's out, I could still see him going around that 5,000 yards in passing and maybe even MVP, because either way, I think it sets it up. Either if you're running a lot, then you can get some big explosive plays, or if you're just passing it, you don't want to force it, but you can still get a lot of passing plays that. So yeah, I can still see that too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't know. There is an argument that Henderson's maybe even a bit better of a receiving back than Akers is. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'm still, that's something we're going to be watching on this channel. I know you're going to be watching it too next year about Stafford and if he can break Kurt Warner's single season franchise packing record of 4,843 yards. Jay, 49ers fan, is saying, Rams house in Payo, you never getting Frank Gore. He's a Niner for life. And Jay, I have to say, Frank Gore has played on a lot of other teams other than the Niners, but appreciate the comment. North Dallas 40 always, yeah, Kroenke wants championships. Yeah, he does. Yep, definitely. Yeah, Old Man Ghost, I think you're referring to Sean McVay being comfortable with what we have, and yeah, I'm okay going forward with the running backs that we have for now. But I, as we were talking about earlier, I think it's important to look at how training camp goes. I'm not saying you ever want an injury, but like if this injury is going to happen, like you'd rather it now than like say week 1 of the NFL season.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope that it really that's what I've been thinking about with Akers' injury. Like, I feel like it could affect his career a lot too because it is a serious one. And yeah, I'm not a medical person either, but I can tell like that's definitely a serious one. And yeah, it would be sad if it affected him a lot because I know that he had a lot of potential. And like I said, he didn't have a full season to show it. He only had like 5 or 6 games towards the end of the year. And yeah, I would feel really bad for him, like after working his way up to here, that like in his second year he couldn't even play, and then like it ends up being where he's just injured all the time. Like I don't want that to happen. So I hope that he gets better and he bounces back, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm, and I think so. If you let's take it from the perspective of the Ram fan that's thinking Cam Akers really is a devastating blow. I heard earlier today, Colin Cowherd, who he gave an analysis of the situation I really disagreed with. I don't know if you read that interview, but he talked about how Cam Akers probably gives the Rams one more win on the year. So losing Cam Akers puts the Rams from what he predicted, like an 11 or 12 win team, to probably like a 9 to 11 win team. And I disagree with that kind of evaluation of the loss. Again, as we've said, it's the Rams don't get better by losing Cam Akers.
Yeah.
So then the question is, do they get significantly worse? And I don't think so. I really don't. But
yeah,
I don't. I guess the question is, do you think the Rams will still be able to close out games the way that they have in the past now that we don't have Cam Akers or Todd Gurley?
yeah, I definitely think that they can, just because of coming back into how good of a coach McVay is. But I think just because of the way that McVay is so good at closing out games, and he's been able to do it with even when Akers was gone. Obviously, we had Gurley, but even when Gurley wasn't like at his healthiest, I think that McVay's record of just closing them out if he's leading by at halftime, I think he's just really smart about the way that it is, and it's not driven by one player that he has, and he can find multiple different ways. So yeah, it, like you said, not having Cam Akers it's not going to help us, but I don't think that's going to make us win or lose games more and not be able to close out more, because I think McVay just has the mind where whoever he has back there, he's able to be smart enough to drop different concepts to finish it out.
For sure, yeah. Well, Rams House, this has been a blast. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. For anyone watching, you guys got to make sure you go subscribe to his channel. Link is in description below to his channel. But Rams House, is there any invitation or anything you want to say to anyone watching, either on the rewatch or live with us right now?
Yeah, I would definitely say that if you aren't subscribed to Payo, definitely do that, because it's a great, amazing YouTuber for the Rams. And anytime you can get coverage on the Rams, that's great. And I'm excited for the NFL season, and I appreciate everybody who stopped in.
For sure. Well, that is, Payo, I'm going to just pardon me, I get tongue-tied sometimes. I'm trying to be more professional on these, but I'm not there yet. I'm going to say goodbye to Rams House, and then I'm off to see Black Widow tonight. I'm excited. Nice. Movie theaters just recently opened up where I live, so I'm excited to go check that out. But everyone watching, thank you so much. Horns up, God bless, as some may say. And go Rams. Payo time in Rams House. Peace and out.